I'll never forget the day our warden brought his daughter to work. Sarah was only 10 years old, with bright eyes and pigtails tied with yellow ribbons that bounced when she walked. Marcus left her in his office for just a minute while he handled an incident in the East Wing. When he came back, she was gone. The alarm went off immediately. Every guard mobilized, searching every corner of the facility. They found her 15 minutes later in one of the maintenance corridors, crumpled against the cold concrete wall. She was bleeding from her head, her clothes disheveled and torn. The yellow ribbons were missing from her hair. Watching Marcus clutch her against his chest, repeating "Daddy's got you, sweetheart," over and over to her lifeless body for hours, broke something in all of us. The paramedics had to pry her from his arms. His uniform was soaked with her blood, and he wouldn't let anyone wash it off. He just stood there in the hallway, staring at his hands, whispering her name. He didn't take a single day off. The next morning, Marcus was back at 6 a.m., running on no sleep, his eyes bloodshot and hollow. He started interrogating every prisoner and guard who'd been anywhere near that corridor. He offered reduced sentences, special privileges, protection, anything for information. Between interviews, I watched him slam his head against the wall of his office, trying to make the physical pain drown out everything else. The drywall started to crack from the repeated impacts. When the interviews led nowhere, things got darker. 2 weeks after Sarah's death, he showed up drunk at morning roll call and announced prisoners would only eat every other day until someone confessed. Guards who hesitated to enforce his orders were threatened with termination or worse. "If you're hesitating," he'd say, his breath reeking of whiskey, "maybe one of you did this to my daughter." He'd pace the prison corridors high or drunk at all hours, banging on cells randomly, begging for answers, sometimes crying, sometimes screaming. Then he started threatening prisoners' families during visits, describing in graphic detail what his connections on the outside could do to their children. Several inmates stopped accepting visits altogether, terrified of what might happen. One inmate, Daniel Morrison, lunged at him during an interrogation after Marcus threatened his 6-year-old son. Marcus stabbed him in the arm with a pen and added 5 years to his sentence for assaulting an officer. But that wasn't the worst of it. Marcus decided, without any evidence, that Daniel was guilty. 3 days later, I heard screaming from the underground maintenance tunnels. These were old passages most staff didn't even know existed. I followed the sound down rusted metal stairs to a locked room. Through the crack in the door, I saw Marcus had Daniel tied to a chair, surrounded by tools laid out on a metal table. Pliers, knives, a blowtorch. Daniel was missing fingers, his face swollen beyond recognition, covered in burns and cuts. I banged on the door with everything I had. Marcus came up the stairs looking completely unhinged, eyes wild and unfocused, like he hadn't slept or eaten in weeks. His hands were shaking. I screamed at him, demanding to know what he was doing, threatening to call the authorities. He yelled back that Daniel deserved to pay, that someone had to pay for what happened to Sarah. His voice cracked when he said her name. "You don't even know if he did it," I shouted, my voice echoing in the narrow tunnel. "You have no evidence. You're torturing an innocent man." Marcus went completely silent. His face drained of color as my words sank in. For a moment, I thought I'd reached him, that some part of the man I'd known was still in there. Then I heard footsteps descending the metal stairs and watched in horror as he turned and walked back down to Daniel. That was the moment I knew Marcus was gone forever, consumed by grief and rage. The man who'd once been a fair and respected warden had become the very monster he'd spent his career keeping locked away.